Welcome to PodsCast number 6, Pods Display Tools, Conductor and Caldera EasyPods, airing live on May 19, 2015. Our podcasts are regularly scheduled on the first and third Tuesday of every month at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. UTC. Normally we would have a song intro right about here done by Scott Clark, but he is off getting his teeth handled at the dentist, so we actually have, Josh's wife is downstairs singing, so we'll get little bits of opera all during tonight's show. Okay, so welcome to our 6th podcast from the team at the Pods Framework. We have with us today Matt Medeiros, who is the co-founder of Slocum Studio. Let me actually put you guys up there. There you go. Slocum Themes and Conductor Plugin. He's also the host of the Matt Report, a WordPress podcast for digital businesses. We also have with us Josh Pollock, community manager and contributing developer at Pods and owner of Caldera WP. And we have myself, Jim True, who is the support lead and project manager at Pods. As always, we'll be taking live questions throughout the show, throughout our podcast. You can either tweet us directly at Pods Framework or join us on our Slack chat channel at pods.io/chat and just post any questions in the hashtag PodsCast channel. Today we'll be discussing and demonstrating 2 plugins that can make your work with Pods a lot easier, Conductor and Caldera EasyPods. So let's go ahead and get started with Matt. Matt's the guy for Conductor. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am the mascot for Conductor. So Matt Medeiros, founder of Slocum Studio, and we are the creators of Conductor Plugin. Conductor Plugin was born from all of the agency work that we were doing, with client work building out content-rich sites. So we do a lot of geolocation sites, we do a lot of directory sites, we do sites for local magazines and newspapers. So sites that have boatloads of content, they want to be able to display that content in different ways throughout their site without having to touch any lines of code. And more importantly for them, they didn't want to have to pay us every single time to do this kind of work. And quite honestly, we didn't want to have to get in there and do these bits of layout customizations every other week or so, especially with our publishing clients. So we built Conductor for that purpose, for moving the display of your content around, primarily on home pages, but on subcategory pages, product pages, that kind of thing. So we were using it a lot, and we were like, hey, we think other folks might benefit from this. So we tidied it all up. This is the short version. Tidied it all up as if it were that easy, and turned it into a product as if it were that easy, and put it on sale somewhere around September last year. So right about a month after actually WordCamp New York, we set it out to the world for consumption.
Wow. Now, did you plan it at the beginning to be working with custom post types?
Well, we were using custom post types a lot in our projects, so that's really where we were using it most, more specifically, especially with directories that we were building. And they weren't just like business directories; they were membership directories or just directories of content themselves. And it wasn't even for just web-facing, websites. Some of the stuff we were doing was for intranets, so like internal inventory systems for people, and they wanted to be able to display their different inventories to different people and different membership levels. So it was always with custom post types, at least from the beginning.
Cool. How does yours typically work with the interface? Do you have like a builder layout, or?
I can go into the demo whenever you want me to, but
whenever you're ready. But yeah, I guess give an overview. I guess.
Yeah, the overview is we do everything we're trying to do everything in the WordPress customizer. There's 2 parts to Conductor. There's the actual layout selector, which is in the customizer, and then there's the widget, which houses probably 80% of the power of Conductor, and that widget can be used in the typical admin widget dashboard or widget admin dashboard, or in the customizer. So sometimes we get caught up in the page builder crossfire, for better or for worse. I from the business standpoint and the marketing standpoint, I like to be in those conversations because it's a very big attractor. But we are not a builder like a lot of the other products that are out there that are meant for building and styling websites. We're very much focused on displaying that content within the website.
And yours works with pretty much just plugs right into the themes, like whatever the theme the person uses.
Yeah, so we like to say we're as compatible as possible with any well-coded WordPress theme,
Hmm.
any theme that's following best practices. We have a theme business as well, and all of our themes are in .org. So the
Smart.
strict approval process over there is the same way that we're saying, hey, look, if it works in our themes over here, we've gone through this approval process. So anybody who's following the same kind of guidelines hopefully it'll work well. There are always some styling things that come into play because themes, because CSS.
Right.
So there are some things that folks will have to tweak, but it's definitely one of those tools that will get you, like the 80-20 rule, where it's going to do 80% super fast, super efficiently, and sure, that 20% might be, you might need your developer to go in and adjust some styling. And usually that's what we run into.
When I saw that yours also handles, like, you've got the plugin specifically for like the Genesis framework, you've got Agent Press, you've got WooCommerce, you've actually got quite a bit of stuff that's actually like ready to go so that you can actually handle those particular situations.
Yeah, and that's actually a perfect point. So like Genesis, and forgive me not knowing the classes off the top of my head, but I think Genesis might use like post-entry, whereas WordPress might use post-title. So things like that, we had to like go in and make those certain adjustments for certain frameworks.
Okay, makes sense. You ready to do your demo?
Sure. Yeah. So
Cool.
Share the screen.
And we should give big points for the fact that they're using the customizer here.
Yeah, definitely.
I really like that about Conductor. I almost called it Composer, which I like a lot. But.
It's close, Conductor, Composer. Of course, I'm going to demo some of this using Pods so that folks can see how we're using it here. And I just set up a really quick demonstration. So I'm just extending the post type, and I've just added a text field called location in the post type. So in all of my posts, I have 4 test posts. Just go into one of these here so you can see it down here. This is extended by Pods, and I just have a field called location, as if somebody were creating this post in a particular state. Right? This is just the example. So each post type has that, so folks can see this in action. So here I am, the front end of my site. It's just a home page, a page that's promoted to the front page with a sidebar. And if I conduct this page, I'll show the different components of it. I want to preface this also that I'm running a beta version of my Note plugin, so if something crashes, I'm going to blame that.
Smart.
So here we are again, is our front page. I'm going to conduct this page, and basically what happens with Conductor is when you conduct a page, you can conduct a page post or archive page, be it like a category with Conductor, and that's what we're going to do is inject our own loop onto this page. So as you can see, is when I select a full width layout, the original homepage content disappears. It's still there. So if I go to disable, we return back to our default layout. But Conductor will override that layout in order for us to build this page with widgets. So I can do full width like this, or I can do full width sidebar, or excuse me, content sidebar like this. So within the customizer, we just add in these quick little helper buttons and some helper stuff, right? So right here it says front page content. This is our sidebar. This is our Conductor sidebar that we get to play with, and we can quickly click on widget or Conductor, and all this is going to do is pull up the widget panel or quickly insert the Conductor widget into that sidebar. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Conductor. That'll drop Conductor right into my sidebar, and I'm going to select many posts. This is usually where the power starts to happen. With Conductor, you can see here I'm showing the 4 posts that I have in my WordPress site. And I can drill this down. I won't go into every little step of the way here, but I can drill this down. I can do just categories. I can order by. I can ascending or descending. I can show certain amount of posts. I can show a certain amount of posts per page, which will automatically drop in Pagination, or I can offset it. But the real magic starts to happen when folks can adjust the display of their content. So right now we're in large, and that was full width posts. I can drop it down to small, which on our Symphony theme will do 25%, so 4 across. Or I can do medium, which is a 50-50, and I can kind of play with these different layouts, and I can clean up the meta for these posts. So if I didn't want to show the author byline, and I didn't want to show the continue reading button, or if I wanted to change from content to excerpt, I could change that with a few clicks of the button. I can just zoom in over here so people can see that. So I'm just adjusting these by hiding the author byline, hiding the continue reading, and I switch content to excerpt, which is now showing just the excerpt portion of this blog post. I'm going to return to continue reading, and then I can override labels, so I can say read more of this. And that'll quickly change the continue reading button to read more of this. And all of this can be done on the fly, and this is what allows folks to say, hey, I can stack conductor widgets on top of each other, and I can do something like I can put all my business, or I can put all my breaking news up top, and then I can put all my business news right after that, or my sports news right after that. Because again, we were dealing with a lot of publishers and content creators. These are the types of things that they were requesting. Before we started this demo, I showed that we created a location custom field from the Pods framework. So if I go right here, and I'll zoom in again, I am going kind of fast, so just let me know if I should answer any questions. But if I go right over here, I can start typing in the name of our custom field. And that custom field was called location. So I'll add location to the list. I'll zoom back out again, and you can see the data that's stored in that custom field called location. So Texas, Chicago, Chicago, Boston. And I can change that label to read something like location with a colon. And then now you'll see it adds that label, location, and then the state name, or city and state name. And I can reorder my meta by just dragging and dropping in the little interface over here. So now I can do something like, let's just hide the excerpt just to clean it up. And you can see here, location Texas, location Chicago, location Boston, and I've just hidden the excerpt field for that. So now you can just build and stack sort of unique unique sections of content, which is great for news, media, directory sites, things like that.
Very cool.
To extend it one step further, we have a plugin called Note, which is freely available on WordPress.org. And Note really just adds some context to your content. And basically what I mean by that is Note just allows you to start typing live in the customizer and just add in some headlines, right? Some headlines or some additional content that might not be like full-length page worthy, but enough to give some context to maybe some content that you're providing here, and just be able to put in headlines and that sort of thing. We do have some predefined layouts for Note when you're using it with Conductor. So you could do something like a 2-column media left, content right, which has this like little predefined sort of, hey, I can just click here, I can add in an image, and then I can say Conductor. This is a great tool for WordPress.
Cool.
And they're just bits of text and content for around your site, all contained within a widget, so that when if you do switch themes, allegedly, you should be safe.
That'd be the goal. So how does it? I saw that you're pulling in a custom field. How would it work with actually like an entire custom post type?
Yeah. So a custom post type. Do I have any active? I don't on this, but I'll zoom in here. So you can see that it picks up on posts and pages. If I had custom post types registered, they would just show up right on this list. So okay. I could pull in the custom post types. WooCommerce, for example, is another one, or just any handmade custom post type that you might have.
Or you could even make your post type with pods.
Correct. That is correct.
But this is on a slightly technical note, this is working on top of the WordPress hierarchy, right? So like,
Correct.
if you add your single products, then that's what you're modifying in Conductor, right?
That's
Or
correct.
products.
That's correct.
Well, that's actually really good that it actually recognizes the hierarchy right off the bat, too. How's
Yes.
the querying ability as far as like being able to filter and
Yeah,
stuff like that? I see like you've got the category by taxonomy, so
yeah. We have category. We have the order by stuff. We uh, we have plans to do a little bit more sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Like combine the different either relationships between across categories or cross custom post types, that kind of thing. But right now we're still trying to really clean up the ability for folks to choose different layouts first.
got it.
Just to give, because what'll happen, our biggest challenge right now is what we're doing is effectively giving somebody a blank canvas to work with, and then we say sort of go and figure out what kind of layout you want, which is good and bad for both scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, you're still using WordPress to determine the query.
Yes.
Okay.
Though you could potentially say throw in a pods widget in there that had a separate query.
That's correct. Yeah, as long as and so this is where we are, and this is where we sort of struggle with, because we're not trying to create our own interface for the customizer. We're trying to stay parallel to what WordPress is doing in the customizer. So, for instance, a lot of folks sort of freak out when so let me just show you one example real quick. So we can change this layout to content sidebar as long as, yeah. So we can change this from content sidebar, and you can change this sort of on the fly. So if you wanted to change these, you're not stuck, or you're not held to just one layout. But for example, I'm going to disable that for now. What folks were saying was, well, hey, I've used my WordPress homepage as my homepage, right? I've created my homepage using the page home, right? And I promote it to the front of my site. I don't want to lose that content here. What we have coming up in Note 1.2, which is available, is you can see as I hover over these areas, we're hooking into before content and after content. I think those are the right names. And these little add sidebar toolbars show up. So if I just click that, we're going to add in a sidebar. And that's going to register a sidebar right here before the content. And we have little helper buttons also here that says, hey, you can add a widget, you can add a note widget, or you can add a conductor widget. And now you can just stack widgets on top of your content, or embed them in certain areas. So if this were your homepage, but you wanted to promote your latest blog roll or your latest blog posts, you could do that using Conductor. And just injecting it right there.
Gotcha.
So the point of that was that we are beholden to folks having their widgets work in the customizer as well. So if there are widgets out there or plugin authors that are not keeping up with working in the customizer, that's the challenge that we have.
Understandable. We've got a couple of questions that came in from Twitter and also on our PodsCast channel. From Twitter, they weren't sure if it was mentioned or not, but a feature to include or exclude specific pages and posts in advanced settings of the conditional widget, time saver to fine tune.
Yes, so that's a great question. I'll add it. I'll add it again just so we can see it. I'll just do select one post for now. If we go down to advanced settings, oh wait, I have to do many, sorry. If we go down to advanced settings, right now you can type in the post ID to either include or exclude in a loop. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. The second question we had was, does Conductor modify or use the default WP query or Genesis query if the Genesis add-on is installed?
So it'll use the default WordPress query.
Okay. Which means probably the Genesis one, it'll actually end up using the regular loop because Genesis recognizes the regular WordPress loop as well.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other little fun little things you want to show us?
I can go back real quick. So really the biggest thing for us is, let's see here. The biggest thing for us, again, is working within the customizer and really just putting attention into not being something that's very overweight or bloated in terms of not just the code itself, but just in terms of the UI. And that's just one of the things that we're really trying to stay focused on, is keeping it as clean as possible and as tightly integrated to WordPress without freaking somebody out, without saying, hey, our belief is, and we all know this, and I'm saying, like, probably everybody listening to this, is we're all pushing forward with the customizer. I don't think it's going anywhere at this point. We all have to use the customizer for WordPress themes now. So we don't really want to fork that user experience. In other words, we don't want to build our own experience with Conductor that's going to be jarring to folks who are just getting used to using the customizer for WordPress. And that's where just sort of integrating in the customizer as best as we possibly can, with that. And I think that it's good for us, because hopefully as folks begin to continue to support that, or begin to support the customizer, we'll be able to pull in more widgets, and you'll be creating more sites with some more widgets that folks will start to develop. I think it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that you guys are showing off how the customizer can be more than just theme settings.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Seriously.
And the really cool thing about the customizer, to get tweaky for a second, is that it could save any type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, by default, it works with options and theme mods, but there's a hook in there that'll let you save user meta or the custom tables. Like, you can do whatever you want with it. It's a really great interface.
Yeah, your little tool thing there is really very cool too. A little pop-up window with little options to add the other items. That's really slick looking.
Yeah. So thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Well, we got time for Josh to go into his. Also, if we're not ready to do the pledge break yet, I think we'll do it at the end. I think it makes more sense.
Let's do a pledge break. I think it's a nice.
Do the pledge break. Go ahead and do the pledge break then, Josh.
Okay, 2-minute pledge break. We Pods do some awesome stuff, like, say, a PodsCast and, say, free support, where you can ask anything within a reasonable scope, and Jim or somebody else from our organization will help you. It's all free, and it's all made possible by the generosity of our sponsors, pillar sponsor being Automatic, and also donors like you, people who give a one-time donation or become a friend of Pods. And when you become a friend of Pods, you can choose a reward. What kind of rewards, you ask? For instance, a discount code on Conductor plugin, or on Caldera EasyPods, or a bunch of really other cool services like SiteGround to host our site, these sorts of things. It means a lot to us when you say, hey, I believe in this and I want to commit to making it a thing. And, it's voluntary. You don't have to, but if you want to make sure that Pods continues to grow, that we're able to continue to do things like, say, hey, Phil, work on Pods 3.0 as much as possible, you can be like Ken and become a friend of Pods. He was our first, and we need a lot more to help keep this going. So it means a lot to us, and it really does help when you go to pods.io/friendsofpods and make Pods a thing where we work for you, the Pods users.
Thank you, Josh. Well, now let's talk about Caldera WP.
Yes.
Tell us how you got started with your project and how you actually are using it to make amazing new tools.
Yeah, so Caldera WP really does kind of grow from, I met David, my co-conspirator there, working on Pods templates and Pods Frontier. And Caldera EasyPods was our first plugin that we released as Caldera WP. Obviously, Caldera Forms was there before. But we integrate really well with Pods. It's a visual query builder and a output tool. It's very different than Conductor, so one of the reasons why I said let's bring Matt here is because there's two very different approaches to this, and I think that some people are going to really like how Matt does it, some people are going to like how we do it because they're totally different, and that's the great thing about WordPress is how do you do this? Okay, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And then you can drill down to the correct answer.
Yeah, and just to inject on this, we found that a lot of folks, customers, were using our tool with other page builder tools. So some of the stuff people will find a way to use them all together, which is kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, like so Caldera EasyPods is not a layout builder. It allows you to create a custom query and then output it using an existing pods template. How do you get that out on your page? Well, you drop a shortcode in, or say you could use a widget that allows shortcodes, right? Say you're using something like Conductor, or a layout builder, or anything where you can just kind of plug those in. So it's not really working at that level. It's more working on the query level and then on the search level. So let me start my screen share here. And this page, by the way, is live at demo.calderawp.com. You're not going to be able to log in yet, but I can show you how these things work. So this is our query demo, and I have some. Let me show you my pod setup real quick, just to see what we're working with. I have an authors in books pod. So I have 3 authors. It's a known thing that I'm a total nerd here. So we have Isaac Asimov, we have George R. R. Martin, we have J.R.R. Tolkien, and then we have a bunch of their books. Prolific sci-fi and fantasy authors are great for demo data. So we have all these in here, and we have, for books, we have a genres taxonomy and a series taxonomy. So we can put things into A Song of Ice and Fire, or into Foundation, or into Lord of the Rings. And one of the cool things about series is that The Hobbit is not technically part of the Lord of the Rings, if we're going to use a very narrow construction there, right? But I haven't categorized it there because it's not part of the trilogy, okay?
Just in case you didn't know.
No, I just think, like, I have the Silmarillion over there. Like, I would have considered that to be part of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, even though it's part of the larger mythos. So what we're able to do with EasyPods, when we come back over here, is we're able to create these little queries that use a type of use our pod's data, and then we drop it into the page with a shortcode. And this is, if my memory serves me correct, this is all of the books. And you see that the pagination is built in for us, but it's happening via Ajax. So this is just a list of all the books. There's no query really here. But there's no page refresh. It just happens right away. So you can drop this sort of unit of pods onto your page. We also allow you to order by. This was a very simple template. It's just an ordered list. This template that you're seeing here is more of, let's show you the excerpt, the title, the author, the book author, that's a custom field, and an image. And so in this case, we're using a order by field. So you see that they show up in the order that, not the order that we added them, which is the default in WordPress, but the order that we said that they show up in the series. So that way we have Fellowship of the Rings first, Two Towers for second, Return of the King third. So that's an example of how the ordering works. And I can show you these 2 queries in the back end, how they work. This is the EasyPods admin, where you can see all of your various EasyPods. So if we click into the pagination one, you'll see we don't have any query. This is sort of the heart of EasyPods, but I'll show you that in the next one. What we do have is the ability to say, I want to show only 3 per page, I want what type of pagination, and what do I want to order by. So in that case, this first demo here, we ordered it by alphabetical order, right? So we got A Game of Thrones, A Storm of Swords. But we can change that to any one of our fields, including our relationship fields. They're all in here. You see our traversals. And the other thing that I think is really cool is that we have fine parameters. If my memory serves me correct, this was Jim's idea, that we show you, right, I showed Jim a demo, and he was like, oh, you should do that. So we did, where you could actually cut and paste this into a pod's fine query. So it's a way that you can build out your parameters here, and then just not use that, and then not use it, instead just paste that in when you're trying to figure out a tricky query. The other thing that we show you is we show you the effective SQL. I would not recommend using this because it could change, right? Like, what if you change your prefix, your database prefix? Right. But for people who are SQL people, it's very helpful a lot of times to see what that SQL is.
Right.
So let's look at the other EasyPods query that we had. And this was the Lord of the Rings query, where we showed just those 3 books. So for this one, we used the query builder, where we said series, that's our taxonomy, .name equals the Lord of the Rings. We could have done that by term or by its parent. And then I also used the order by query here to make it go in the series order field. So that way I was able to say Fellowship of the Ring is number 1, Two Towers is number 2, so on and so forth. And the other thing that we do is that our view, essentially, how it's outputted, is totally using Pods templates. There's no separate templating system. So this is the general settings. We give it a name. We give it a slug, right? What our shortcode is. We choose which pod, and then we choose which Pods template. And these are all of the current Pods templates, which we've covered a lot in separate PodsCasts. So you can look back at those. But those are my pods. These are my templates. When we can look at, say, books preview that I created, this is stuff that we've talked about before, right? That I have my wrapper around the whole thing, and then I'm showing these little fields inside of it. And, I did some cool stuff like all of my post content is cut and pasted from Wikipedia. So I made it after it's done, after it's the final output, I drop in my little notice about copyright. Hey, this is all cut and pasted from Wikipedia. Here's the Creative Commons license.
So EasyPods is like a kind of like a way to get around some of the limitations we have in our shortcode, as far as because you can actually build a better SQL query or a better find query within EasyPods without having to run into those limitations we get in the visual editor. Then, right?
Yeah. So it allows you to attach, right? Like if we look here at edit page for this one, you can see that all that's happening is we dropped in a shortcode. There's no real arguments here. Yeah. There are some override arguments, like you can switch out the default template, that sort of thing. But it's just EasyPod name equals Pagination example, right? EasyPod name equals Lord of the Rings. So it's very self-contained on this end, because a lot of times, we've talked about this before with the pod shortcode, you get into, but I want to query by the date, right? But you can't use, WordPress won't let you use the SQL function for current date, for good reasons, in the WordPress post editor. And so you can do things like here, we have a date query. So date, and then you can actually change the formatting there.
Can you reset certain field types to cast, and it'll actually do it, or does it know?
We have a filter built in for casting, which I'm working on making it work automatically. Okay. I can show you an example of where we've done casting with a filter on our site. And we're working on building magic casting into the next version, and I hope and then I'll open source how that all works.
Smart.
Where we'll detect field name. So this is a basic SQL editor where you're able to do when this field equals, doesn't equal, in, not in, greater than, equal than, these sorts of things. And then you can type you can just type in data, right? And genre term ID equals 42, right? Or you can use dynamic data. For instance, you can use data from the URL. You have all these magic tags here. One of them is called get. So if you have in your query string, you have a variable called foo, it's now a part of your query. It's going to use it here. It's going to sanitize it for you. It's going to do everything.
Wow.
We have post data. So if you're sending a post request, the other thing that we have, you'll notice post is _post. That's for the post data from your request. We do also have a post magic tag here, and that is a field or custom field of the current post. So that works really well for relationships, where, say, book author do I have one? Right. Books.post name equals post name. Right. Now we're able to use this query based on the current post, so it can live update for that. I think I have an example of that. When I go to my EasyPods. Other books by author. Let's look at this one. If we look at the query for this, we're using dynamic data.
Wow.
So we're saying book author.postname equals post name.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a second one to make sure that the current post doesn't show up. Right? So give me all the ones that have this, where the author of this book is...
Oh, I gotcha. So these are other books by that author. So if you're looking at that individual book, that, oh my gosh, this question comes up all the time.
Yeah. So this is live. This is going to update, right? This is going to show us all my books by Isaac Asimov, all of my books by J.R.R. Tolkien, all my books by George R.R. Martin.
Right.
So it does these sorts of things where you're able to do, where you get these little shortcodes built in. And you're building those out with the Pods template system. And then you can drop them in as a shortcode. We do have a widget, so you can put them in the sidebar and they'll work. And then really, there is a function that you can use your PHP to drop it out. However you want to do that, it's up to you. And obviously a tool like Conductor that gives you widgetizes everything for you, or a widgetized theme is a great way of working with these. The other thing that they do is they can serve as search forms. You build your search interface with Caldera Forms, and then when Caldera Forms is active, you're able to use those fields as the query.
Okay. So
here is an example where we've built this search. What's very cool about this is that Caldera EasyPods works with any type of pod, right? So there are a lot of great search tools out there, Facet Wp and Search Wp being my two favorites, and they work really well with custom fields that are for custom posts added by pods. They all act on WP query, so therefore they can't work with an advanced content type or a table storage pod. That's how they work. They work with WP query. The big difference here is that we work with the pods class, so we can work with every type of pod. And then you can create these types of search filters using pods. And so here, you'll see that we're outputting the same, right? We see all of our books here, right? So here's some Isaac Asimov, and this is paginated, my response. Right, I can go to the next one. It's right in. But I can start to drill down using these drop-downs. Genre, I want to suggest science fiction. So now you'll see, excuse me, we actually only have Isaac Asimov because he was the only true sci-fi writer in there. But we can go to fantasy, and now we'll see there'll be some Tolkien in there as well. And we can drill down directly by author, right? And then if we say go to J.R.R. Tolkien, remember this series. So if I go to Song of Ice and Fire, I'm not going to see anything, right? Because you didn't write any of those. But if I go to Lord of the Rings, remember, this is the reason why I said there's no The Hobbit is not part of the Lord of the Rings.
Right.
We're saying it's that trilogy. Nobody nerd rage at me. So that way we could show that, see, we didn't get any response for The Hobbit. Whereas when we take this out, we're going to see The Hobbit.
Got it.
So we can even do a search by title here. Right? So I can say dragons. And we'll see a Dance with Dragons. And it's live searching. So when I do like A, I kind of get everything. But I can do ring, and it automatically pulls back to Fellowship of the Ring. And it's all live. You'll notice I didn't even bother to add a search button into this field.
Because it's all Ajax, right?
I could set it to not do that. I could set it to require a click,
Right.
So let me show you these editors. This is the EasyPods editor. And you'll see I'm doing a query where I'm saying search, and then the name of a field from my form. And how I made this possible is I went to the Search Form tab. I chose one of my Caldera forms.
Mm-hmm.
They're all going to show up here. I only have one. And then I choose my template for my results. These are my pods templates. I turn live search on and off. And whether or not I want that initial query to run, right? So some people might not want any results showing up right away. And then it shows me down here what are my magic tags that I can use to use those fields. And for anyone that's a download, or I'm sorry, a drop-down field, I could override their field options with another EasyPod.
Huh.
So, for example, we did a EasyPod search of Caldera Forms add-ons on our site. And how we did that was we created an EasyPod to only show downloads, right? Downloads, the Easy Digital Downloads custom post type, which we extended with pods. Right, and if you're listening to, you're like, oh, that's really neat, but I'm not using pods on my site. Well, just extend it with pods, your custom post type, and now you can. So we created an EasyPod called Custom Caldera Forms Add-ons, and then we use that as our field options. I'm not doing that in this example. The reason why I'm not is I don't have to. How I'm populating those three downloads, those three drop-downs, is this is my form layout in Caldera Forms. So this is genre. You'll see I just created a drop-down field. And then I auto-populated its options. Because I don't need a complex query here.
Right.
Caldera Forms lets you have a drop-down that is post type or taxonomy. And then I can choose any of my post types. So that could have been all of my categories.
Is that with or without the plugin for pods?
Oh, this is just part of Caldera Forms.
Oh, so it can actually query any post type?
Any post type or any taxonomy.
Taxonomy, nice.
So you'll see post pages, revisions. It's all in here.
Okay, just not advanced content types, right?
Yes. We are working on a feature where you'd be able to use an EasyPod here to populate a dropdown.
Okay, cool. So it works within the WordPress hierarchy as well. Got it.
Yeah. And this allows you to, right, so like author, that was my author's post type. Series, this is my series taxonomy. So it uses this existing interface here to create a search form, and it all comes together really nicely here, where our results, we're using a pods template. So you can use an existing pods template. You can use this exact same template somewhere else using all the traditional ways. And you can use all of these, all of this bits of data to create a very nice live search interface. Are there questions? Is there anything else I can show?
I haven't seen anything coming through on the channel, but just really impressed, Josh. I can really see where you've got the one item that actually allows you to query stuff, and then you've got the other side of the coin with the visual builder, so the visual layout. So that's really impressive.
You've got to say thank you. You've got to give a lot of that thanks to David. He is the brains of the operation, especially when it comes to interfaces.
Yeah.
We've taken what he did to build the Caldera Forms interface and abstracted it out to a plugin builder that we're able to use to spin out new plugins like this.
Very nice. That's a very powerful plugin, definitely. There was a question about clarity in Facet WP.
Okay, so Facet WP is awesome.
Okay.
We're looking at me, right? This is my opinion.
Yeah, you're looking at you. That's the universal symbol.
This is the universal symbol of Facet WP. This should be Matt's new logo. Matt Gibbs, we got too many Matts. I feel like, and I hate to say this to you, Matt, but like Matt Mullenweg was first, like you should just be someone else.
Yeah.
Like one Matt per, and you're gonna be like, well, there are people named Josh in our community first. Well.
Yeah, we're gonna kill you off, Josh. That's it. That's what I do. Is anybody named Jim, I just get rid of them.
Yeah. Right. No. I embrace my name, brothers. Anyway, so Matt Gibbs started Pods. He was the original developer before he handed everything over to Scott, and then made Custom Field Suite, which is a really neat plugin that you should check out. The other thing that he built was Facet Wp. Facet Wp does this kind of faceted search. You see faceted search on eBay, on Amazon. You make a search, and then on the left-hand side of your screen in their sidebar, you can say, okay, I just want prime shipping, or I just want this product category, I just want this manufacturer, I just want this price range, and it's automatically updating live for you. The way to do that with WordPress is Facet Wp. Facet Wp works really well with custom post type pods that use meta storage. Again, it's based on WP query, so that's what it can do.
Right.
And I've built a bunch of sites with it, and I think it creates a really great interface. When you need a live updating interface, I think that Facet Wp is a great tool for that. And then we did make a plugin that gives you sort of a visual layout builder for Facet Wp.
Well, that's what I was actually wondering about, if actually Conductor could work with Facet Wp as well, because if you're building like a grid layout of the thing and let it drive the WP query, then that might work as well.
Yeah,
yes.
we've had some requests for that integration. We actually have an add-on that we're only using right now internally, which does something of the sort, but it's with taxonomies. So it would just conduct all you would have to do is conduct one page with, let's say, a sidebar, and drop in our dynamic widget in there, and then that would then control the display of the content as you clicked into the many categories. Not as robust as a Facet WP, but it certainly gets the job done for a standard directory type site.
Right, but you could also with Conductor, because Facet WP works on shortcodes, so you could drop those shortcodes into different places in your Conductor layout.
Yeah. Yep.
Right, and so that's one option. I mean, the other one is the traditional way of you drop them into a page. And then we have Clarity for Facet WP, which gives you a grid-based layout editor where you create a complete Facet WP layout. And then that can either output as a page template or using a shortcode. Drop it into a page, drop it into a widget, drop it into a Conductor. There are a lot of ways to do it.
Yeah. I definitely see that just even over the last series of our podcast, how many different ways there are about displaying data with pods or on your WordPress theme. There's so many different ways to go about it, and there's even more being created down the road with Lasso and these other methods coming down the pipe. So
yeah, I think Matt, we always do drawbacks, gotchas, and reasons why not to. So I'll start. Why not to use EasyPods? Okay. One thing is that, I mean, it does require an extra options check, right? All this stuff is stored in your database. So before you can do, right, when you just do a straight query, it's just executing from code. With this, it does have to go to the database and get that options check and then do the query, which then goes to the database the normal way. We do have filters where you can define them in your file system. It's a little bit trickier, but then it's not in the options. The other reason, I think, is that it's tied to Pods templates. If you don't want to use Pods templates, you're kind of out of luck on that. There are some ways around it, but really, I'm not in love with any of the ways we've built around that. So it's really great if you like Pods templates, and if, right, we've already talked a lot about some of the limitations of Pods templates. But if you don't want to use Pods templates, or you can't use Pods templates, they have some limitation, EasyPods isn't a great solution for you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I guess from my point of view, again, because we do demonstrate everything in the customizer, everything does look drag and drop-ish. It's still very much core WordPress widgets, and you're sort of stuck within those lines. Folks that think that it's a complete solution to building their complete website, probably not the best solution for them there. Folks who, for whatever reason, don't want to have this stuff in a sidebar or in widgets should probably not look at our product. It was very much built to hand off to people who wanted to have that kind of control. If you don't want to have that kind of control, or you don't want to give that kind of control to a client per se, it's probably not the best option for you. What else can I say bad about my product?
I didn't want you to say anything bad about your product.
I love your product.
Yeah,
I was very impressed with your product.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I mean that kind of thing is, very much. Hey, look, there's. I think there are, and we all know this. There are a million ways to do things. You could just write the lines of code yourself, put it in your own template file.
Right.
You know, and that's probably, you know, that's where it draws the line. Well, I could just do it myself. Yes, you can.
Right. So my endorsement of Conductor is I don't make websites, but if I did, I'd probably make them with Conductor.
Right.
Because I could do all that, right? Like, I have all those skills to do this manually, but I'm pretty impressed with Conductor, and I would rather just have let the geniuses that Matt works with do it for me. Totally. It's the same thing with Pods, right? I had this discussion with somebody about whether or not they should use Pods, and I said, well, I mean, you could like write an installer that added custom tables, right, to your site, right? I mean, but Pods is using exactly the same functions that you would use to do that, right? You go into WPDB, DB Delta, and however the hell that works. I don't know. I never did it. I just used Pods, right? Right, but Pods is using the same API that you would use to add custom tables and to query them. And I think that this is the question of if a plugin can do these things for you and share and skip all that work for you, and not become inefficient in the interim, and not hold you back, then awesome. Time is money, because hopefully you're charging flat rates. You're doing value-based pricing. So somebody gives you a few $1,000s to make a website, and you can make it in a day instead of 5 days. Well, you've just made money.
Exactly. $1,000 for a website. Come on,
I said
Josh.
a couple $1,000s.
I thought you said 1,000. It was like, okay, a couple thousand I'm all right with, but 1,000, no. Not for something that has like custom post types and layouts. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys. We're actually toward the top of the hour, so let's go ahead and wrap up. I want you to I'm going to pop your thing up over your face so that people can see where your website and everything is, and just say anything else you'd like to say about your product and about maybe the Matt report. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. So conductorplugin.com, we do have a beta open, the stuff that you saw today with the note widget and adding a sidebar on a page with a cool little editor UI. That's in beta right now. You can go to conductorplugin.com/blog and grab the download for that 1.2. Should be released pretty soon, which is free and on WordPress.org, so everybody has access to that. And then if you're interested in WordPress business stuff, mattreport.com, got a little podcast over there and just talk to folks who run WordPress businesses.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. Okay, Josh, I'm going to let you talk about Caldera WP and whatever you want to wrap up with as well.
So, yes, EasyPods comes from Caldera WP. We're calderawp.com. We've got probably 500,000 plugins at this point. If not, we will soon. But we have a lot of plugins that do this type of layout generation. We have a custom templating plugin. We have EasyPods. We have Clarity. We have a URL rewrite system, and then we have 15 add-ons for Caldera Forms, which is our form builder plugin. It's a little bit different than the other ones, and we hope that you'll check it out. Thanks for being here, Matt. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me. It was awesome.
Definitely, Matt. Thank you very much. We would definitely appreciate you guys popping in for this. Okay, so I'm going to do my outgoing bumper now. Our next podcast is in 3 weeks on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2015 at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. UTC. We'll be discussing possibly the integrating of Pods data into Genesis and WooCommerce using action hooks. Where you can find archives of our show, we have them on our website at pods.io/category/podscast. You can also view them on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/podsframework. If you're just getting started with Pods and need to learn more things about it or have questions, you can... wrong slide. Sorry about that. You can get help on our website at pods.io/forums. We also have the support forum on wordpress.org at /support/plugin/pods. And you can also join our Slack chat at pods.io/chat and join us on the support channel where where anyone can actually help you answer your question. Again, thank you, Josh and Matt, for joining us for another podcast, and we look forward to your questions and comments for the next one in 2 weeks. Everyone have a great day. Thank you.